Let's talk about the Modern Warfare player versus the Cold War player and the true enemy, which is the yearly cycle. Now, I'm joined here by Richie Bracamonte, and we spent a lot of time reading your comments, and what we were trying to understand is what makes players love Modern Warfare and what makes players love Cold War. We're not so worried about which game is better so much as who each game is for. Now, your answers made us really think about the way we see these two games, and there's a couple questions that we're going to answer in this episode. Those are, is Modern Warfare a true Call of Duty game? What do classic Call of Duty fans know that Modern Warfare players don't? And what are the different audiences looking for? Okay, Richie, so let's start with why we're talking about this, which is that the Modern Warfare audience and the Cold War audience seem like they're kind of blaming each other for what's going on right now with the Cold War takeover of Modern Warfare. So I want to start with, a basic rundown of what's going on.
This year, Modern Warfare players are a little more upset because of the lack of support and things like the missing Season 7 that was never given to us. People feel like they were robbed of this Season 7 because they moved their support to Cold War. This also goes hand in hand with the Season Pass and how it turned from a Modern Warfare thing into a Cold War thing overnight. And while they still have the Season Pass in Modern Warfare, it's more relegated to Cold War things. Warzone is the middle ground, but, not everyone plays Warzone. And there are longtime fans like you and I, Aaron, who are unfortunately welcoming people into this sort of cycle that happens every year. People who do play Modern Warfare and haven't played a Call of Duty in a long time, or maybe never played a Call of Duty, are getting the brunt of this for the first time. We're kind of used to this drop in support every year. So while older fans of Call of Duty know exactly what's going on, not everyone does. And we see this directly here in our comments. We've got one from Rymon over on YouTube that says the COD community is requesting support for more time. Ghost Recon players, first time?
One of the most telling things about reading through the comments was how classic Call of Duty fans were kind of confused as to why Modern Warfare players were confused about why Season 7, got canned for another Call of Duty game, because they know that the yearly cycle happens every year. And so the Cold War players are kind of like, hey, it's our turn right now, but also knowing that they're going to get screwed in a year. This was really well summed up by Unbeaten Mars, who said, you can tell all the people begging for Modern Warfare to keep getting content are new to Call of Duty. It's never happened for any game before and never will. Black Ops 2 had like 3 times the players Ghost had in 2014, and it still didn't get any more DLC. This is actually really good for our next point, which is, who is the Modern Warfare audience? So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 undoubtedly attracted probably 2 main types of players. One of those were people who were sick of the Call of Duty formula and wanted something new, and the other were probably lapsed milsim players. Particularly, we see a lot of comments from Battlefield players that they were attracted to this game and it filled a niche that Battlefield wasn't anymore. It's really important to point out that the reason that people liked Modern Warfare or hated Modern Warfare were the exact same reason, right? So what does that even mean? What is it about Modern Warfare that new players were attracted to? Well, there's a couple things that we can break it down to. Map design, sandbox, and type of play. So let's talk about map design first. Modern Warfare has sort of large, porous maps. It really went away from the 3-lane design. They're also, because they're larger, they're a little bit slower paced, which means that there's more of a setup to gunfights, there's longer runtime between gunfights, and there's probably a lot more thinking about where you're gonna go on a map next. So that's a bit of a slower pace. That ties into the sandbox of the game. So the sandbox comes from a lot of things, but the main one that people love is playing with loadouts. So a comment that we've had in previous episodes was, one thing that Modern Warfare did really well that Cold War lacks is caliber conversion kits for some guns. The gunsmith in Modern Warfare allows you to characterize and personalize your weapons to yourself, and each gun feels different and unique. Modern Warfare gave you enough rope to hang yourself with. You could build a bad gun in Modern Warfare. That's how good of a sandbox it was, right? It lets you make mistakes, it lets you play with weapons, and it let you turn weapons into other weapons and learn how they work, and then configure them differently and play with them in a different way. So that sandbox aspect of it's way less controlled, and it can lead to, bad things happening if that's not what you're interested in. And then that brings us to the last point, which is something I'm gonna get in trouble for here, but camping. Camping is a big point of contention between Modern Warfare players and Cold War players. So the open, porous maps of Modern Warfare allowed for a lot of camping, or, people who hung back and did sniping. And I'm not going to judge someone whether they like that or not. As a player, it's a personal preference. Something that I've mentioned this in the past is that I don't mind camping. To me, it's actually a skill set that somebody has, and a good camper is somebody who can outthink you, right? So like they get you and then they get you from a different position and then they move again or they move back to the first position. It's kind of a thinking man's game. And a lot of people who hate campers, I'm going to say this, it's because they outthunk you. You know, like they've been able to predict where you're going to go next and they've shifted position and got you again. And that is really frustrating.
Hey, Johnny boy. Hey man, you gotta stop camping, dude.
Oh, really?
Okay, so that is the audience that Modern Warfare appeals to. Now let's talk about Cold War. James B said, even though Cold War is an unfinished mess, I enjoy it way more than Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare has god-awful map design, it's designed for camping, safe spaces, and dumb mechanics like mounting and leaning that make no sense in a Call of Duty game. Cold War has that fast-paced arcade feel that I look for in a Call of Duty game. Richie, who does Cold War appeal to, and what does that fan love in their games?
For the Cold War crowd, it's more of a classic arcade fan base. It's faster paced. The maps are classically 3 lanes. They're good for all sorts of game modes. The guns, there's no extensive gunsmithing like there was in Modern Warfare. Like your attachment has one job. The gameplay is faster. There's a lot less camping, and there are things like ninja and other ways to sneak around the map so that you can play more aggressive. Unlike Modern Warfare with its big maps, that sort of discourages that sort of aggressive play style, for better or worse. So in general, Cold War is for more the arcadey, classic style Call of Duty player, especially Black Ops. It's a very refined version of that.
It feels like a lot of these players also consider something like Black Ops 2 to be the pinnacle of Call of Duty game design.
Black Ops 2 was important in a lot of very big ways. It was the perfect storm of a lot of things, really. Like YouTube was on the rise, so people were using like theater mode to make all these sick edits. Clans were coming up and League play was introduced, so you know, we got to hear more and more about the FaZe clan or Optic clan and things like that. They were getting popularity. Black Ops 2's maps were also just so memorable, so much so that they're converting them over to Cold War. Like, you know, Raid, that's a great map for all sorts of game modes. A lot of them had that classic 3-lane design we talked about, but like perfected. Some of those maps are just unforgettable. And they're built in such a way so where you can't really hang out and snipe for too long. There are some, you know, secret spots and jumps and stuff like that, but you know, for every spot that you can camp out in, there's another one with like a barrel like right in the way or something to block you and prevent you from camping out too long. Black Ops 2 also had like some of the greatest zombies maps, the most memorable maps there, and they started to build the story off the zombies map, so it just wasn't like a survival based game mode anymore. It was more of a story, including like the transit map. Like that's a fan favorite, or Mob of the Dead. You know, they were hitting zombies really hard, really well in Black Ops 2. And it was just a special time where like a lot of things were hitting their stride. It was a pinnacle for a lot of people, myself included. It was up there as one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite Black Ops games, but for a lot of other people, it's like the best. It's like it's the pinnacle, and it's hard to disagree with that.
Boys, let's get to work.
Okay, so this comes down to, I think, one of the most important comments that I read that really got me thinking about the difference between Modern Warfare and Cold War. And this came from Steven34. I love Cold War. It plays a lot like Black Ops 1. Modern Warfare was not a true Call of Duty. It felt more like a Rainbow or a Battlefield. If I want those experiences, I'll play those franchises instead. Call of Duty is supposed to be an arcade shooter for fun. Now, Richie, I think you and I both agree that the game that appeals to us between these two is the Modern Warfare 2019. But this posed a really legitimate question. Is Modern Warfare 2019 a real Call of Duty game? And I think, honestly, when I did some soul searching on this one, yeah, no, it's not. Like, the reason that people love Modern Warfare 2019 is because it's not a classic Call of Duty game. That's why they were attracted to it. That's why they're upset that it's not being supported continuously, like, you know, Battlefield games were with many DLCs that sometimes lasted beyond a year. It's not what they're used to. And that's why people who love Cold War are so confused, because they are classic Call of Duty players. They know how the yearly cycle works, and Cold War is that classic arcade game. This explained a lot to me as to why these two fan bases were in conflict. And again, I think the big problem here is not that people like different things, it's that they were kind of shoved together recently. Not just sharing Warzone, but as we mentioned at the top of the show, Cold War completely took over the Modern Warfare store. Like, you fire up Modern Warfare and you see Cold War, and you're getting unlocks for Cold War. And I think that also leads to the question, you know, can Activision break away from the yearly cycle? Do they know what they have here? And are they willing to not just do a yearly Call of Duty game? Because if they do a yearly Call of Duty game, the Cold War fans know they're going to get screwed in a year. You know, like, their game's not going to be supported in a year either.
Yeah, it's messy. It's polarizing. It's all over the place because people who come in from other games that enjoyed Modern Warfare because of the different experience, you know, they got their full year of support. It made Activision billions of dollars. People loved it. You know, less people hated it, but there were still haters, of course. A lot of people loved it. It brought in tons of people and tons of money. And then the next game was a total 180 back to the classic Call of Duty style. So those people who were hoping for support or hanging on for Season 7 just got Cold War, the next game, which does not play like Modern Warfare. So it's tough. All these people are like, I'm looking for more Modern Warfare. You know, Warzone can only carry you so far, but it's gone back to classic arcade style like in Cold War, and that's just not pleasing everybody. Honestly,
like, we want the best for both audiences. We feel like the Modern Warfare fans deserve another season, and we feel like the Cold War fans deserve the best year that they can possibly have. And the problem is, like, convincing Activision to, like, not just lump the two games together the way that they've already done it.
Right. It's also sticky for that too. Like, if Activision knew what they had, they could have continued to support Modern Warfare for another year. It's going to be a tricky call to make because does Activision, you know, continue on with the yearly cycle, or do they finally try something different but at the wrong time?
So that brings us to the question that we posed to you guys last week, which is, there's some chatter right now, and I want to be clear that this is completely speculation. Nobody knows for sure. We're going to get these announcements sometime during spring. The question we posed to you last week was, if Battlefield or Call of Duty go into historical settings, are you still happy with that this year? Like, is that enough for you? Or does that kind of mess up your plans?
So that brings us back to some of your guys' comments. We have one from Sean here who says, if the next Call of Duty is a retro game, I will be playing Battlefield this year. I don't think COD can go back to World War II now because of the Warzone implementation. We're already sort of suspending disbelief with COD, Cold War, and their integration with Warzone because it kind of conflicts with timelines. There's some fantasy elements like zombies, but to go back that far to World War II, I don't know how or if they'll try to incorporate it into something like Warzone, which is their moneymaker. They're going to have to figure out a way to do it, and I don't know if World War II is the right move. We've got a comment here from Rita who says, I don't know if Activision realizes that lots of Modern Warfare 2019 players are Battlefield fans that shifted away from Battlefield since the last entry was a disaster and Modern Warfare was a great substitute. Yet, if Activision keeps on trying hard to push Modern Warfare down just for Cold War to have a better display, they must be aware that if the upcoming Battlefield is something like Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, Activision could kiss Modern Warfare goodbye. And it's true. She goes on to say that Modern Warfare has a lot of potential, and the annual release of COD games is killing its predecessors. This is a summary of what we're talking about here, and that's the question we'll raise to you guys in the comments down below. Can Activision afford to break the yearly cycle? As always, thank you guys so much for your comments. We love to read them and use them here on the show. It's a great way for us to reach back out to you and talk more Call of Duty. If you want to see more Call of Duty, check out our GameSpot YouTube page. We've got a bunch of videos and playlists of all things Call of Duty, including our brand new evolution of the M16. It's been in just about every Call of Duty game, so I think you should check it out. And as always, thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you want more, and we'll see you next time.